Good evening, I'm Ray Rodriguez and I would like to be the next Mayesh Design Star. What I'd like to demonstrate for you this evening is how to take something that someone may not expect to find in a floral arrangement or expect to use for a floral container and transform it into a beautiful creative container or floral arrangement. I have an aluminum can from the kitchen that I rinsed out. I removed the paper label. I actually put some U-glue dots here on the can, and I attached this beautiful river of bling. I put some additional dots on the opposite end, and I've replaced that paper label with this label of bling. And now this can is a beautiful container, perfect for any floral arrangement. You can put foam in it and design in it. You can fill it with water, put a fresh cut bouquet of flowers that you pick up at Mayesh Wholesalers. Send this to your recipient, and when the flowers have withered away, they have a beautiful can that's wrapped in bling that can be used for pens or pencils on any home desk or table. Kale is our next item. Most people have kale in a refrigerator. You might see it at the market, but not many people get to see kale in their floral shops. Kale is a beautiful flower. It has this beautiful long stem on it that has this nice beautiful color, a lot of texture in it. And what I've done here is I've pre-soaked some foam. I've wrapped it in this artificial aspidistra leaf, which is waterproof. I wrap the foam in that so that through the glass container, you don't see the mechanics. And what we're going to do is actually cut our kale stem. I'm going to kind of cut it a little short here, cutting it at a nice angle. And this particular kale is not real pretty. It's got some yellowing on the petals. So we're going to go ahead and pull off some of those petals. Some of these we're actually going to save for later. We're going to just trim this down. Now if you'll notice, our bloom here on our kale is rather cone-like and not real pretty. So what we can do to enhance the shape of this bloom is actually reflux these petals. Let's reflux a few of these here. And what I like about when we reflux these petals is that not only does it show off the beautiful greens of the petals, but you also get to see the beautiful purple veins in there. It's very colorful. Now I have one that's already started and it's right in here. And again, it's a little bit larger bloom. These petals have been refluxed back. What we'll do is we're going to add this to our container of our floral foam here that's been wrapped in that artificial aspidistra leaf. Just kind of showing you how those petals reflux back so easily. There's a few on here that are still kind of ugly, so we're going to kind of just pull those back. And what I'm going to do is actually cut the stem a little shorter. I'm going to kind of trim it down a little bit so that it goes into our floral foam a little easier. And we're going to stick this down into this floral foam. Now I think I have another kale. Here we do. I have another one that's already been pre-refluxed before earlier. Got a nice little bloom. It's a little bit bigger. What I'm going to do is actually I'm going to trim this one down a little bit, give it a fresh cut, and we're going to use this in here as well. Now the stem, we saved the stem from our kales, and what we're going to do is we're going to use that stem in our floral arrangement. I mentioned I love this stem because it's very sturdy. It's got this beautiful color. It is very textural from where all those petals are on there and they've been pulled off. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to give this stem a nice angular cut, fresh cut here. We're going to stick this down into our foam, just like that. Now I'm going to cut this a little shorter, about right here. We're going to use our clippers to just cut that a little shorter. Now I gave it a flat cut at the top, and I'm going to show you why. We're going to take our other flower, allium. I love allium. Allium is a beautiful little variegated flower that once it continues to bloom, all the little green down here actually turns to purple, and you have this beautiful little purple head. Now what I'm going to do with this, I'm actually taking a corsage pen. I'm going to pierce that allium bloom right through the center there, and we're going to just put that right here on top of this, giving our kale stem an allium bloom. Now this line here is it's a very stiff line. And what we're going to do to alleviate that, we're going to use some allium. I love the allium flower. The stem is very thin and very pliable. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a very rhythmic flow of a line through here that allows your eye to move away from this very static line and follow the stem of the allium. So I'm giving this a nice cut. We're going to just insert this into our foam. We're going to wrap this around and we're going to connect it to our stem here. What I've done is I've used some of this decorative aluminum wire, kind of shaped it where it has a little head on top and then a point down at the bottom. And we're just going to wrap this around our allium stem and our kale stem. We can get another one. I'm going to cut that one just a little shorter. We're going to insert it into the foam in the same area. Do the exact same thing with it and just kind of wrap it around. Now, this arc in the stem looks like it's a little long, so what I'm going to do is take that out, recut that stem just a little shorter, give it a new insertion. Then we're going to bend that again. Makes a nice curved line there. And using our little aluminum wire, we're going to attach that to that stem again. There we go, just like that. And then I think I'm going to use one more. Here we go. Another, cutting it a little bit shorter, reinserting into that foam just underneath the kale there, wrapping it down one more time, and using a little bit more of this aluminum wire. Let me show you. We're just cutting this aluminum wire, curling the head of that so that I have something to use, kind of like a corsage pin. And we're going to wrap that around, tie that to our kale stem. And now, instead of there being this very stark line, we have this beautiful rhythmic flow of lines that comes off to the left of the arrangement here. Now, I like to use the heads of these allium. They're very textural, and we can cut the stems really short, kind of pave those into the foam, kind of hides our mechanics, brings some of that purple color down down to the bottom of the arrangement as well. Now, something else I like to use to help cover up the foam or our mechanics is any remnants that we have of that kale stem. What we're going to do is we're actually going to bind some of these stems together with more of this decorative wire, and I have a couple here that are already done. We just bound it with that decorative wire, and we're just going to place those in there above that foam, hiding that foam, hiding our mechanics, but using those little pieces of stem. Instead of throwing them away, we're using them to our advantage. Look at the front here. And we have a little bit more foam showing, so I'm going to cut some more of this aluminum wire. We're going to wrap this kale stem, get that really good and wrapped. We're going to pierce this down into the foam to kind of cover up some of that foam. Now, another thing that you can do is when you have maybe an extra kale that didn't look so pretty, you can pull off some of these petals and you can cut the very tip of their stem into a little bit of a point. Just give that stem a little bit of a point, and then you can actually insert that petal into your floral foam if you want to help cover that foam, help cover your mechanics in there. Sometimes when you keep doing this and you keep pulling those petals off, you're left with a very small bloom of kale. I always hate to see the kale go to waste, so I like to use them in there as well. But we can put a few more of these petals in there just to cover up that foam. And then, let's see, I think I have a small kale here from a previous arrangement with this little bitty bloom. We're going to pull off some of these petals still, and just reflex those petals back just a little bit to give that little bloom on that kale. And then we're going to insert this. Now, the stem is a little thick, so we're going to kind of trim that back some, make it a little bit thinner so it goes into that foam just a little bit easier. And then wherever there's a little bit of exposed foam, we're going to go ahead and just put this little guy in there. Let him enjoy being in this beautiful arrangement. We're going to use one more of our allium heads. Give some more nice texture to our arrangement. Just kind of cover up that foam. I think I cut him a little short. I think he'll be okay. And so now you have this beautiful arrangement created out of kale, something that you would find in a refrigerator or the garden market. Well, let's see, we have an extra arrangement back here. I'm going to show you. When you put these two together, you have this beautiful arrangement of kale, allium blooms, both things that you may not find in an everyday arrangement. I'm Ray Rodriguez, and I would love to be your Mayish Design Star.